In life, the most important thing to me is being happy, whether that's your hobbies or the people that you surround yourself with. The most important thing is being happy. And with that, treating others the way you want to be treated has been my golden rule ever since preschool. And if this was everybody's golden rule, I think the world would be a much better place. And with everything that's going on in the world, I've learned that life is short, and if you're not having fun and being kind, then what are you doing? And I think to myself that if you don't add your drop in the bucket, how is the world going to be a better place?
The most pressing issue right now, if you ask me, is what do we do after? What's going to be the new normal? How much are things going to change? We've seen a lot of stuff already that we take for granted all the time be challenged. Being able to dine in a restaurant, being able to shake someone's hand. It's all been shaken up, and we're all struggling to adjust. How do we keep going? How do we adjust? It's the idea of not knowing, of being unsure of who's next, being unsure of what's going to change. Will we ever actually be out of this nightmare? And how much more we have to pay for it. How much more the earth has to pay for it. That idea of just not knowing, not being in control. We've had a choice for so long, choosing how we live all of our lives, and now we get to change everything up. Everything.
They are my rocks. I am so glad that we are together during this. Normally, I'm too busy to spend quality time with my family, and this has been a great opportunity to reconnect. You know, it's funny, I never realized how much I miss these things until this moment. It's really scary what this says about our society, that sometimes it takes something like this to get a break. And I also realize the privilege that I come from, that I have the opportunity to spend time with family and work on these things, but this is one scary reset, y'all.
About a week ago, I spiked a fever, had to do the whole emergency room thing, COVID test. No one looked down my throat, ears, nostril, nothing. Doctor poked his head in and says, "You have all the symptoms. Check, you've got COVID." So I sat here for a week, knowing very well what it was and what it could be and how far it could get and what the consequences were, to find out, no, it's not COVID. You have a minor case of strep throat. Had someone looked in your mouth, they could have told that, no problem. But in all that time, it made me think of fear. It made me think of being alone. Going into the emergency room, I had to be by myself. And in a time like this, I can understand when bedside manner is few and far between. It made me think of, should it come to it, would I die alone? If I actually had COVID that tore my breast apart, my lungs, my everything, would I lay there and die alone? A fear that has always scared me. And what about my mother? What about my spouse? Would they get it? Would they suffer the same pain, the same possible lonely fatality?
When it first started, I was very scared. I was very paranoid. I definitely was around the house, like cleaning like a mad person, really concerned about my dad going to work every day in Los Angeles on the train. Very concerned for my brother who has asthma, for his safety and things like that. So definitely in the beginning, I was very on the paranoid side, just not knowing what is going to happen. And then slowly but surely, all of these other things started happening. Police violence and brutality had heightened to a level that we have never seen in our lifetime before, at least my generation. And it became a time to hit the streets in a time during a pandemic. And for me, someone that's been an activist a very long time, it was hard for me to not be able to be on the streets with the people. It was very difficult for me. So I did a lot of the work online. I did a lot of work contacting people that were protesting in one part of Los Angeles and contacting the people that are protesting in another part of Los Angeles and even letting them know, yo, the police are coming, they're coming down on you, be ready. And I eventually went to a protest myself near where I'm staying right now, which is in Upland, California. And at the protest I went to, a guy pulled out an AR-15, and it was very scary. This man was a white supremacist. He was threatening a group of local high school students that were just there peacefully protesting for Black Lives Matter. And to witness that it was just very scary. And I had PTSD for a good, I don't know, like a good week or two after that, where I didn't even want to walk down the street because I was scared of my neighborhood, not knowing what was going to happen to me and my safety and my children's safety.
There are so many layers of sickness in the world right now. There's the actual sickness with the virus and the pandemic. There's sickness in how we treat ourselves, what we bring into our bodies. There's sickness in how we treat each other. There's sickness in our political and social systems. And there's a sickness in how we are treating the planet, our one and only home. I've meditated on what positive lesson could be learned during this incredibly difficult time, and the thing that keeps coming up is to slow down and quiet down. If we get really slow and really quiet, then we might be able to filter out the noise and listen to our inner truth. Body, heart, mind, and soul working together in collaboration. Only after listening with that level of openness and connection might we be able to hear better, and then we can act better. I'm far from an optimist, but this is one of the few things that's giving me hope right now.
2020, especially with COVID, has brought about a lot of changes in the way our society functions. For example, a lot of people who have been lucky enough to work from home are having their meetings taking place via email or via teleconference, which is a great resource, especially because now we're able to even do fitness classes on via live stream. So that has been wonderful. Along with that, though, we were already very reliant on social media, in my opinion, but now it's really the center of pretty much everything that we do. And of course, people are constantly posting their opinions about different things, and some of them are taking COVID extremely lightly. They think it's a hoax, they don't want to wear masks, they don't want social distance. And then on the other hand, you have people that are totally barricading themselves in and don't even want to talk to somebody in person. And it's very difficult trying to manage that middle ground because you have people from both ends just wanting to tear you apart, but you do what you can.
It's September 3rd, and my industry has entirely collapsed. I build festivals and stages for social gatherings. So I haven't worked a lot at all. Along with my industry collapsing, a lot of the courts were shut down for a while. And I was fresh into a dissolution, a divorce, and we have a child, and I haven't been able to see my kid for a while because we couldn't get a court order going. By now, it's things are starting to open up, so it's looking up a little bit. But being a parent's been, in my case, super tough. But it's looking better. I've made some discoveries, I guess. I've seen a lot of beauty, done a lot of hiking, done a lot of camping, seen some magic. I've discovered some self-confidence. I've discovered some patience. A lot of spiritual discoveries. I'd say the apocalypse has been pretty alright for me, pretty great. I've been thriving.
I've had to make decisions in the next year of what is going to happen and what I'm going to do to change. And that is possibly having to move far away from friends. Also looking into my future career and actually deciding that I do want to be an artist as a career. And so investing time and money into that. And then also looking through spirituality and how can I help my mind, body, and spirit become better? How can I use this time for the good? And honestly, even though a lot of the change is scary and a lot of it is hard to go through, those better aspects of my art, my spiritual life, everything like that, it's making it a lot easier to get through all of this.
One thing I've learned about myself during these unique times is that I'm a much more insular person than I would have imagined. I've always considered myself very social. I love meeting people. I feel like I can hang out with just about anybody. And playing music, you have to communicate with people. The job demands that you engage with other human beings on an immediate cellular level. So I've always considered that an essential part of who I am. And I miss it a lot. But 5 months and counting into this thing, having had, with very rare exception, my only interpersonal contact with my wife and son, no one else really. I feel like if I had to, I could do this for another year or 2 or 3, and I would really be okay. And I don't quite know how to process that information. It's empowering and sad at the same time.
I'm concerned about my 2 young adult kids. My 19-year-old was in her sophomore year in Tacoma, Washington, when the university closed and she had to come home in April to spend the rest of the year in line. This summer she should have had an internship or other job, but there's nothing. She was so looking forward to returning in the fall and regaining her independent life in a place where she thrives. And we just got word last week that the university won't be offering in-person classes this term either. She's devastated. My 25-year-old has a significant mental illness that involves a large helping of anxiety as a concurrent diagnosis. One of her biggest anxiety triggers is staying home. She was sent home from her intern job at an urgent care with her fever and fatigue in March. Thankfully, it was only flu A. She has been unable to find any other work. She is suffering panic attacks, anger outbursts, and a host of other unpleasant symptoms. So I worry for our fledglings, as well as for our younger babies, and there isn't any magic kiss that can make these boo-boos go away. And I feel like I'm flailing as a mom when I should be enjoying my empty nest.
The biggest struggle for me as a parent right now really is, this isn't the playbook. You know, as a parent, you have a basic understanding about certain elements of parenting. You know, school is important and the importance of sports and nurture them to be empathetic and, grow up to be confident and yada, yada, yada. You have a basic understanding or have a point of view about a lot of the basic elements of parenting that we've all kind of grown up with. But yeah, this pandemic thing is not in the playbook. And school is about to start next week for us. And that scares the hell out of me. You know, the idea of sending my daughters back into the petri dish that is school, when one of them had asthma and the other one has just a crappy immune system, scares the living hell out of me. You know, at the same time, both of my daughters are struggling. They're both very social animals that haven't seen anybody their age in almost 6 months. And it's been really tough on them. So there's the mental health side of things you have to look at. And there's constant anxiety of not knowing what the right thing to do is. And the biggest thing that sucks for me is regardless if we send them back to school or if we keep them at home in home learning, regardless of what happens, I'm never going to feel like I made the right choice. I'm never going to be able to hang my hat on I did the right thing. And that's excruciating.
So I self-quarantined for the month of February because of my lupus, and I ended up having influenza A, and it was brutal. It knocked me out for a good 3 weeks. And just as I was coming out of the flu, still feeling very weak, I got an emergency call, and my 85-year-old mother had fallen. Really dramatic fall. She was down for 24 hours and taken to an ER. And so in my still not well state, was running the gauntlet through the ER, and I'd never seen so many sick people, ever. So many sick people in beds, in the hallways. And this is like 2 weeks before lockdown. And I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't even be in here. I'm weak from being sick. This is my first time coming out of my self-imposed quarantine. I'm not fully healed, and there's illness. People are really suffering, and my mother is suffering. It's just a crazy time. And she went from there to the hospital, from the hospital to rehabilitation center. And I told her that would be my last visit, that I'm too ill, I'm not well. And I just intuition, I'm like, something is coming, something is happening, and I don't think it's good for me to be out at all. And I walked away from the home realizing that could very well be the last time I see her. And that is the most bizarre feeling ever.
Softball. I miss the 2 leagues that I play in. Miss my my poker group. I miss my social circle, many of whom are people who are my age and who are concerned about getting together, rightfully. I miss a sense of sort of ease and comfort in walking around my neighborhood, having to cross the street when someone's coming or watching someone else cross the street when I'm coming. And I think most of all, I miss my dad, who passed away at the end of April. And I sort of think of him as collateral damage to COVID, because perhaps he would have felt able to go to the hospital when he wasn't feeling well, but didn't because of the pandemic. So there are a lot of things. I have to travel in a couple weeks, and I'm apprehensive about traveling. I think I'll be okay. Because I'm really cautious, but it's the freedom, I think. It's the freedom, the kind of ease with which we used to move around our street, our city, and now, going shopping is difficult.
Going to restaurants is very difficult and scary, and I think I miss not being scared.
The thing I miss the most during this pandemic is the simplicity of having a daily routine. I functioned off of waking up to an alarm and going to the gym to get stronger, and then going to work where I felt needed, and then coming home and feeling fulfilled. And I love what I do to the point where so much of my fulfillment comes from my career, and the lack of control in knowing when I'm going to be able to experience that fulfillment again is really challenging and bringing up a lot of demons that I thought were dormant and dead. And it's been a challenge to kind of keep them in check again. And I feel like right now I just watch my day waste away, and it drags, and at the same time it flies by because of the lack of that routine. And not only do I look forward to the day where I can go back to work, but I really look forward to the day where normalcy is back to more of what it used to be, and not this new adjusted way of work and life. But the day I can go back to work and truly feel that things are okay again is a day I really look forward to.
I've been very fortunate to be working in an industry this year where I was not afraid to lose my job during the pandemic. I am blessed to still be working my 40 hours a week. However, being that I work in an apartment community, I can't say the same thing about the residents that live there. A lot of people have had their hours cut, they've been furloughed, they've even been let go, and that has led them to not being able to pay their rent, can't pay utilities, and they can't buy food or gas. Now they're exposed to evictions, to having their credit ruined, and having high balances. It's heartbreaking. I've had people who have called me crying, saying that they don't know what to do anymore. They can't find a job, they can't even find daycare for their children, and I sympathize, I really do, but there really isn't anything that I can do. After all, it's still a business. We still have to make money. And I can't waive any late fees. I can't make any charges disappear. And this is just here in Austin, Texas, but it's happening all over the country. I just really hope that people are able to land back on their feet and hopefully recover from this.
Through this process, I really feel like I've been getting to know myself a lot better. Anyone who knows me knows that I have a vivid imagination and my goals are lofty, and I just don't know how to sit still. But something I don't think many people know about me is that that vivid imagination follows me through to when I'm sleeping. So depending on my mood or what I'm learning, what I'm studying, what I'm focused on, what's stressing me out, whatever that is, it tends to find its way into my dreams. And that can be a bit exhausting, especially this year. There have been several days where I wake up and I'm just feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling heavy, and I have to pause and take a moment with myself and just ask why. Like, what's making me feel this way? Because the mind is a crazy powerful thing, and our thoughts have such an intense influence on our daily moods, our actions, our reactions, and I'm trying to be the best that I can be, and I want to be responding to all of this stress and this crazy year in the best way that I can. So something that I started doing every morning before I do anything else, sometimes even before I get out of bed, I find 2 or 3 things that I feel genuinely grateful for. And I just let myself sit and feel and experience that gratitude. And then I start my day.
So I've been getting through all of this with my girlfriend, Elizabeth. Back when everything started to shut down and all the quarantines started to go into effect, we were just like everybody else. We had no way of knowing how long this was going to last or what it would entail. But we both knew that we'd rather go through it together instead of apart. And that's exactly what we did. It required us to learn how to live together and learn very quickly. But looking back on it now, I can't imagine going through this without her. I can't imagine not having someone there on a daily basis to talk to share concerns with, and just endure it with. And we both feel very lucky that we've had each other throughout this whole thing. And that's something that we think about every single day.
COVID started right in the middle of my first year out of college, which was simultaneously a really exciting and fast-paced time, and also a really murky time as I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And so it was strange and a bit disconcerting to take such a big pause in the midst of what had been a very busy year. But I think that what COVID has offered via this pause, this chance to slow down, is the chance to re-envision, reimagine what we want our lives and future to look like. I think that we as a global community, as a country, and as individuals have been handed this really rare opportunity to slow down and just ask ourselves if we want to continue down the road we've been traveling along, or if we want to take our lives, our country, our world in a new direction. And I think the past 6 months have given us that time to parse through all these thoughts and ideas. And I hope the next chunk, however long that may be, of quarantine allows us to turn those ideas into action.
2020. It's been surreal. Even today, 6 months in, I have a tough time kind of wrapping my head around everything that's gone on. You know, the quarantine and the lockdown, that was all rough. But the part that's been the most disturbing has been kind of the normalization of crazy behavior and unacceptable behavior. I mean, did I really just see the president say, how about we inject disinfectant into our lungs to see if we can get rid of this? Did I just watch a police officer kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds? Did I just watch the White House be used as a prop during the Republican National Convention? It's crazy. And these kind of things have been like, oh, that's what we're doing today. Okay, never acceptable before, but they're acceptable now. It's a crazy time. I got 2 kids home from college that are dealing with the first crisis of their lives. It's tough. It's tough on all of us. I've learned that I don't know how to dress and that I drive too slow. So it's been educational as well. I don't know. I will get through this. It's rough. Some days are tougher than others. Some days I watch too much news. Other days I don't watch any news at all. All I know is that you should wear a mask. Seriously. Wear a mask. It's the least you can do. The very least you can do. Be a good human. Really. And vote.
When you're down and blue, when you're lost without a clue, just look for me, I'll be here for you. So just keep trying to make your dreams come true, and look for me, 'cause I'll be here for